Hey gang, Carl White here, broadcasting actually in the studios today, here in the secret headquarters of the Mortgage Marketing Animals. You're listening to Loan Officer Freedom, number one podcast in the world today for loan officers, and it's great to have all you here. So today I've got a friend of mine, Jolynn Craig, that I actually met at the Omaha. Was it more?
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
at the Oklahoma Mortgage Convention Association
Mortgage
there.
Bankers Association.
Yeah. So you guys were kind enough to invite me to come out there. About a month ago now, I guess, something like
hmm
that.
Yeah, it was.
Just a great. Which, by the way, I have to tell you, Oklahoma is just freaking awesome. I had no idea it was that pretty there. I maybe I watched too many old westerns, and you see the plains and the grass and nothing else. I'm
Yes,
sure there's that part there, but
there
where
is.
we
That's Western Oklahoma. You were in Eastern Oklahoma, so
well, which is totally different. Like it's mountains and mountain streams and just a really, really, really pretty place.
it is.
But anyway, so I think you and I we're gonna talk a little bit about just mindset type of stuff. And you told me a little story and about a boat, and so I thought I remember hearing that and went, man, that would be a great story to have on the podcast. So, Jolynn, first of all, great to have you here, and
Thank you for inviting me.
oh, it's a pleasure. And just kind of bring everybody up to speed a little bit. So, banker, broker, loan officer, branch manager, and how long you've been doing it. Just kind of a little background.
Uh, I've been in the business now for about 22 years. I think I'm past that, going into 23. Trying to think. Oh yeah, I work for a bank, and I work for we're called like a community bank is what we
Okay.
are.
Like
So think
a
small town
true
bank.
bank, like a depository.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Mhm.
but, we're not big. We're in small towns, except for our mortgage department is I'm in Yukon, which, most country music people may remember that as, the home of Garth Brooks.
Oh, nice.
So, my office is right off of Garth Brooks Boulevard, so
Wow, how cool is that? That's awesome.
I know. So, no, it's a family-owned bank, fantastic place to work. Um, they kinda just let us do our own thing. I almost function, though, as like a broker
Hmm.
inside of a bank. I have my own underwriter, I have my own closer. I can lend nationwide, but mostly I just concentrate around here.
In your basic area. All right, awesome.
Mhm.
So tell me about this story that you shared with me.
Okay. I probably gotta back up just a little bit,
Sure.
um, to get to that story. So, um, I think I told you at the time I was working for the school district here, not Yukon, but in Oklahoma City. Um, and in my past, I had worked retail. Um, I managed customer service department for a very, very large car dealership, which really helped me learn how to handle customer complaints.
Yeah.
you know, then oil field construction company managed one of their branches, and then went to Oklahoma City schools. And that's kind of where our story starts. So
Okay.
I was in charge of this big grant that we would get for technology.
Okay.
Um, pays for, I mean, and when I say a big grant, it's like $6-7 million.
Okay.
And so, so anyway, I'd been doing that job for probably a couple, 2 or 3 years, and then we got a new director, and he took that grant. He was like, I'm going to do it this year. It's like, okay, knock yourself out. Uh, the way he applied was less than scrupulous. There was some fraud, maybe some kickbacks stuff
Yep.
going
Okay.
on. So anyway, I'd gone to a conference for this grant, explain, and they said, "Hey, if you did your application this way, we're turning you down. You're going to get denied." So I come home, write up my little memo about it, and send it off to him. Well, of course, it made him mad. So I was on the target list to get laid off
Mm.
because they were doing some budget cuts. So December the 1st, I think this was 2001, I got laid off. And I went home though, with just such a peace about everything. And when you work for the public sector, you have a right to get, hearings and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, the day I left though was the day that the school district got the notification that our grant had been denied.
Okay.
So I literally laid on my couch for about 2 months because I had a paid time off. And the school district interviewed me. I worked with them to try to figure all this stuff out. He got let go. I got hired back.
Okay.
And while I was laying on my couch for 2 months there, I got to thinking, I probably ought to be doing something different with my life. And my dad and my brother, this was back in when subprime was getting really going, I guess you could say,
Okay.
in 2001, 2002. So they bought a franchise, a subprime franchise.
Okay.
And they said, you'd probably be pretty good at this if you, want to come
Give a
work
swing
for us.
at
And
it.
I was like,
Yeah.
well, I've got my good job over here. I've got my security, I'm single. And so I thought, well, I'll just do this for my gravy money. And that's kind of how I got started in the mortgage business. And when I got started, I asked my real estate agent that I'd known for years and had sold me my houses. I said, hey, if I decide to do this, do you think you could send me a deal or two, here or there? And she goes, oh my God, Jolynn. She's like, my lender has gone to pot. And she said, I'll send you every bit of my business. It's like, wow, okay.
That was easy. That was easy.
Yeah, that was easy. So anyway, here we are rocking and rolling along. And I'm a geek. I'll just tell you that, Carl. I'm kind of a geek. So if I didn't have loans to work on for her, I would go home at night and read mortgage guidelines. Like I read the FHA handbook. I read Fannie and Freddie's guidelines. And because I hated not having the knowledge.
Okay.
And I never wanted to have someone, I never wanted to, we work so hard for our deals. I didn't want to turn someone away. And so kept on plugging along. And about 2005, I think it was, started getting these God nudges. Have you ever had a God nudge?
More than once, yes.
Yes, exactly.
Mine's more than mine tends to be more than a nudge. It's like a smack on the side of the head, but
well, that's coming from me. So, so anyway, I was hearing from God saying, Jolynn, you need to step out, go do this, go do mortgages full time. God, no, in case you didn't remember, God, I'm single. I don't have any other kind of backup income for me because, it's 100% commission in our world. Then that went along. And then again, Jolynn, go do mortgages full time. No, I've got good health insurance. I've got a good retirement, blah, 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 blah. Went through every freaking excuse in the book, telling God no, which by the way, that does not work. No. To tell God
not
no.
long term, not long term,
not long term. So one Sunday I was sitting at church. I remember this vividly, so vividly. And the pastor, he was getting all excited. He was really, getting into his message. And he said, he was teaching about when there was that storm. All of the disciples were in the boat. Yes. There was that storm on the water. And they were all scared and they woke him up and he was like, stop being afraid. And that's when, he was out, Jesus goes and walks on water. And Peter gets out of the boat and goes and walks towards him. And so that's what he was preaching on. And he goes, my pastor at the time, I remember it so vividly. He said, there are some of you here that God's been telling you to get out of the boat. And you've been giving him excuses like, you know, you're on a salary, but God, I've got benefits. But God, I've got this retirement. And he
Mm,
goes, but I'm telling you right now, God is telling you to get out of the boat and you need to do it.
mm,
I was like, okay, God, kind of like you said earlier, get smacked upside the head.
yeah.
I got smacked upside the head that day. And I
Mm,
was like, okay, God, I'll listen and I'll do it.
yeah.
So that was probably in the spring. And the first thing though that I did, I was actually pretty good with my money and saving up all of my gravy money that I was making off of the mortgage business.
Okay.
I saved up 6 months of living expenses.
Okay.
And I thought, okay, if this gig doesn't work out, if I blank, whatever happens, I've got my little nest egg. I can ride this deal for at least 6 months and make it happen. Um, so the day I quit, the day, turned in my notice, did all that stuff. And this was in August, I
Okay.
believe. We're kind of famous for our storms here, tornadoes, all
Yeah,
that sort of
for
stuff.
sure.
The day I left and quit, my house was the only house in the neighborhood that got hit by lightning
Mm,
at a storm. And I was freaking out. And one of the things, I want to stress to maybe new loan officers, people or whatever, you've got to have a good tribe of supporters, people, your cheerleaders. So I called my best friend who lives in Tulsa, and I was freaking out about this. It knocked out my electrical. It
so
knocked
you
out
got
all
you got
sorts
out
of
of the
stuff.
boat. You got out
I
of the
got
boat
out
at
of the
this
boat,
point, and then
and
you
here
think,
I
okay,
am.
everything's going to be smooth sailing. Everything's going to be okay. Next day, lightning strikes your
Boom.
house.
hmm
Wow.
And so I called her, and she said, Jolynn, all this tells me is that you've got a great. You're doing the right thing. You've got a great future ahead in this business. And she said, that's all the confirmation I need to believe in you. I was like, oh man, there's a reason why you're my best friend. That right
Mm,
there. So and then, so that was August. I blanked in October. Of course, one of my things that I told God, I got to have this income. But, after that, I think I maybe had one other month where I ever blanked in 22 years.
mm.
When I say blank, didn't close a deal.
Right, right, right.
But
Mm.
that's my get out of the boat story. And
I
when when we're in hard times like this, like what our market is, right now, I guess you could say that's my anchor that I always go back to, where that was such a confirmation to me. I always go back to it to know that I'm on the right track.
mm,
That I believe I truly have a calling on my life.
mm. Now, when you did this, once you went full time, did you do any side gigs or like this is it? This is my horse. Jump on a horse and ride that horse.
hmm
Yeah.
And actually, I went into it with the mindset of you have to make this work. There is no other option,
Period.
period. You
Mm,
have to make this work.
mm,
And quitting was, even though I had my 6 months saved up, quitting was never an option. And it's not now either in this environment.
mm.
It wasn't an option either because that was before the first housing crash, in 08 and
Yeah.
09.
Mhm.
It wasn't an option to quit then either.
Yeah. It's funny how if one of my and I've quoted here before, uh, one of my favorite people on earth is actually would strike people as maybe not being the typical is Joe Walsh. So Joe Walsh,
Mhm,
for anybody that doesn't know, Joe Walsh is the lead guitar
mhm,
for Eagles, right?
mhm,
The iconic band Eagles. And once he sobered up, he was a mess in his early years, but once he
mhm,
sobered up, probably 25 years ago, I guess now, Very, very, very wise, very smart man. And he tells this story about how we go through life and it seems like utter chaos and these events are happening and they're crashing into each other and it's just a
Mhm.
real mess and lightning hits the house
Mhm.
and then I goose egged and all this stuff and all these trials and tribulations and the housing market crashes and but he said while it seems chaotic that if we just let the story play through, come to
Mhm.
find out it's a finely crafted novel that could be written no other way.
Mhm.
And I think about that. I wrote something down while you were talking, sharing your story. Is that I think for me, and I think everybody else, that growth happens in our hardest times.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, when it's peachy
Mhm.
keen and I'm not having to pedal the bike and I'm just kind of coasting and doing pretty good,
Mhm.
my muscles aren't growing. But
Mhm.
give me a hill and I got to get up that hill. That's when muscles are made, right? If somebody puts weight on our barbells, that's when we grow muscle.
Mhm.
Even though it's like, well, I don't need any more muscle, like I'm good, but
Exactly.
it doesn't work that way.
Exactly. And I was doing a lot of thinking. Um, where that conference was that I saw you. It's a 3-hour drive from Oklahoma
Mm,
City. So I had a lot of thinking time while I was driving. And I was thinking, so if I was getting started in the business today in
yes,
this environment,
yes.
what would I either do differently or what did I do then that works now
Mm,
or would still work now? And I think a lot of it truly was my mindset
mm,
because when I went full time, I thought, okay, I am my own business. Jolynn is CEO of her mortgage company. Now,
mm,
yes, at the time I worked for a broker, and I still view it this way, even though I work for a bank, because I am 100% commission. This is my baby,
mm,
and I need to run it like a business.
mm.
And I just put on the mindset of, okay, you know, if I owned a law firm, if I was a plumber, electrician, whatever it is, how would I be running that business? And what do I expect from one of those industries? And I need to run mine just like that.
Take ownership of it.
Take ownership of it
I
and
like
do what?
I really like that because I think sometimes we can find ourselves. I know I can sometimes find myself going, well, the reason I'm having an off month is because of this or them or that thing or this
Mhm.
person or this process or what and I think it's when we take ownership of it and go, hey, my success or lack thereof is due to one thing and one thing only, my
And it's me.
actions.
Hmm.
Period.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, which is a very uncomfortable thing because man, I'd love to point fingers at somebody else. They're
Hmm.
the reason I'm not doing well,
Hmm.
and they're the reason I'm not seeing my growth. And
Hmm.
yeah, it's not until we take ownership of that we see the difference.
And right now, of course, everybody's talking about rates being so high and
Yeah.
the lack of inventory. Well, you, back in, and I don't know, Carl, if you remember this or not, I want to say it was like 2010, 2011, somewhere around in there. I don't know if you remember, but Obama was president and he did was $7,500 that a new homeowner could get. It was
I remember
either
that. Mhm.
a tax rebate or a tax, it was tied in with your taxes. You got a basically $7,500 tax credit for going out and buying a house. Well, um, once that was over, I don't know if you remember this or not, at least it was here. It was quiet. Nobody was buying. My phone wasn't ringing.
Yeah.
Nothing was going on. And it was always the excuse of, well, if I'm not going to get free money, I'm not going to go buy a house. okay, all right, and it's the same thing now. Well, if I can't get a 2% rate or a 3% rate, I'm not going to go buy a house.
Yeah.
It's the same objection, just phrased a little bit differently.
Yeah.
So
I go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, I was just going to say, you have to learn how to respond to that, which is why I
Mm,
absolutely love scripts,
yeah. Yeah.
because it works.
Yeah. I think what happens is when something changes, there is a brief moment in time where that disruptive event um, might result in it me having to work a little bit, I don't know, smarter, more
Hmm.
efficiently, more effectively
Hmm.
to get the same amount of loans in. But after a short period of time, people's memories are very short,
Hmm.
and so after a little while, today becomes the norm,
Hmm.
which is probably healthy for us actually.
Hmm.
So when you find yourselves in those down markets, do you do anything different as far as your specific activity to, like I hear you say, hey, I take ownership, but as far as like actual action items, what do you do when you see a slow month coming up? What any difference in the action?
Um, no. And I will tell you, I mean, yes, I've been thinking about this too, because when I got started in the business, I did a bunch of brokers opens,
Okay.
you know, with, my real estate partners. And that's how I met a lot of people. I would go out or agents, and I would also go out to their offices, take flyers, whatever.
Okay.
Um, Now I still have I don't ever do a broker's open now because
Yeah.
everything's online. Real
Yeah.
estate agents don't ever come out for those anymore. And so
Yeah.
I've been thinking, what would I do? You
Hmm.
know, yeah, I would make phone calls just like I do now. Am I as diligent with my phone calls as I need to be? No,
Yeah.
I'm not. Um, but I still though go out to offices. I Since then I've started teaching classes. And it's funny, the real estate agent that I told you that I called first and said, hey, would you send me some of your business? She and I had lunch together yesterday. And
Mhm.
she is moving to a new brokerage. And she said, oh yeah, Jolynn, I meant to tell you my new I had already signed up or told her I would teach a class for her this Saturday. And she goes, oh, I forgot to tell you, my new broker, we're going to open that up to the entire office, not just my team,
Hmm.
because he says that I talk so much about you, about how good you are, that he wants to meet you and get you in here. And I
Hmm.
said, how many people are in your new brokerage? She pulled it up. She goes, oh, we've got 84.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I can carve out
Some time to make that happen.
some time to go talk to 84 new agents that don't know who I am.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff. Hey, what would you tell? I see we're coming up here on the top of the hour. What would you say to somebody that is newer in the, or you know what? Let's go back first. What would you say to somebody that's been in the business for a long time, like you and I have, and they're a little discouraged,
Mm,
and man, it's not like it was 3 years ago.
mm-mm.
What would you say to that person?
Stay consistent,
Hmm.
you know, consistent phone calls, but not only that, but consistent with your transactions. You
Yeah.
know, if you if you close on time, well, if you tell me you're going to do that, well, you close on time. It's a integrity issue. You
Hmm.
know, this is the time to be um, pounding out your um, processes. I'm a
Yeah.
huge process person. Um, Keep on with phone calls, keep on with emails, keep on with your marketing. And something I see in some of your Facebook groups are, people who are like, yeah, I've been calling this agent and she just, told me to shut up and never call her again. So what do I do? Okay, yeah, you back off a little bit. But I have an agent right now that um, sends me all the stuff that she can. I'm her preferred person. And when I got into this business, her best friend was a loan officer. Never, ever, ever going to get a deal from her, ever. Well, guess what? The best friend had some health issues, had to get out of the business. And who does she call first?
Mm,
Me.
mm,
Because for 15 years, I was friendly, gave good advice. I, you know, I just did Jolynn,
yeah.
I was just consistent with it. And she calls me one day and is like, "Hey, I need to send someone to you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, great. And it just started going from there. And people always got to remember it's not just one deal and one real estate agent,
Mm.
good or bad. They're going to go back to their office and tell everybody about you. So it's just as easy to be efficient as it is lazy,
Mm.
and just, make it happen and have integrity about your business.
Remind me of a quote that my buddy Steve Kiles said actually just this morning on the Breakfast Club. Discipline out trumps motivation.
Mhm.
Discipline out trumps motivation.
It
Well, I
does.
really like that. I'd never heard that before. That was discipline out trumps motivation. Well,
Mhm.
and what that means to me is I can't rely on my motivation. I
Mhm.
just have the discipline that at this time of the day, this is when I do my prospecting, and if I feel like it or I don't. I was reading a book that Stephen King wrote about himself,
Mhm.
and he said people ask him all the time, how do you write such a large volume of content? Right, he just
Mhm.
writes. He's a writing machine. How do you do
Mhm.
that? And he said, well, I write. I only write when I feel like it. I just feel like it Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every single day.
Mhm.
Monday through
Mhm.
Thursday for 4 hours a day. I'm sitting my butt in front of a typewriter. And if you
Mhm.
hear you have this master of his craft, whether you
Mhm.
like his books or not, you can
Yeah.
appreciate the volume that he does and
Yes.
certainly the success that he's had. And he doesn't wait until he's motivated. He
Mhm.
just does it anyway. So,
Mhm. Well,
hey,
and I think anyone would tell you that, whether it be, like exercise people.
mm,
The people that I know that exercise every day, they're like, I don't even think about it. It's just,
not a
my
choice.
norm, like brushing my teeth,
Yeah,
you
not a
know,
choice. Yeah,
not
not a
not a
choice.
choice.
I just do it. Yeah, awesome. Anything I should ask you today that I didn't get around to, Jolynn? Did we cover it okay?
Um, I think so. Um, yeah, I think so. I think
I
we're good.
I love your just get out of the boat. Just get out of the boat.
Mhm.
I love that story when you shared that with me. So I appreciate it. So
No, and that's something, like I said, I think we all need, especially in times like this, to be able to go back into our memory bank
mm,
and pull up things that motivate you or that express to
mm,
you again why you're doing what you're doing.
mm,
You know, I will tell you, yeah, this is one thing that we do need to cover. Um, I think it was in 2018, so not very long ago. I'd heard Jack Canfield speak, the chicken soup for the soul
yeah.
guy. And when I heard him speak, I thought, oh, this will be good. He's going to talk about his books. No, he is a fantastic trainer, along like the lines, of a Tony Robbins.
Yeah.
And he has a book called The Success Principles that I absolutely love. And one of the things that's in there is he tells you to write out your purpose. I thought, okay, that's kind of, for me, was a little bit difficult to think about. But in 2018, my mom had a horrible stroke, was paralyzed. That was in January. February, my uncle died. In May, I had an aunt die.
Mm,
And my mom was told, or our family was told, that my mom was in a facility and they're like, well, she, we're going to have to discharge her because Medicare has quit paying. And so I was dealing with all that family trauma. And then I'm still trying to think about my purpose. And so with all that, I thought, I want to start from the end and work backwards.
Mm,
What do I want people saying about me at my funeral?
mm,
Because I'd attended a few, in that little short
yeah.
time frame. I
Mhm.
thought, what do I want people to remember about Jolynn?
What's our legacy?
Yeah, what is our legacy? And so this took me a while to come up with. I'd write something down and then I'd be like, no, that's not quite it. And then I'll write a little bit more. No, that's not quite it. So this is what I finally settled on is that I say my purpose in life is to positively impact the lives of individuals and families by providing wise mortgage advice and godly direction to improve their financial future.
Mm.
So,
We call that clarity where I come from.
mhm,
Mhm.
so I get if I'm on the phone with somebody, I'm trying to make a difference in their
Mhm.
life. I'm not just selling them some money, giving them a loan. Right now, I am doing a loan. I normally don't do small loan amounts. This is like a $89,000 transaction. But you know what? Um, those people that I'm doing the loan for were homeless at one point. And it's a 900 square foot house, I think is what it is. For this lady, you would think it's the Taj Mahal.
Well, for her, it is.
It is. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. And that's a transaction. If I had to, I would do it for free
Mm.
because it goes back to I am impacting the life of someone through a mortgage.
Mm.
That's
Well,
why, and go back to the very beginning. That's my calling.
mm. Well, my friend, you're also impacting tens of thousands of loan officers that'll listen to this podcast episode, and it certainly had an impact on me. So I really appreciate you coming on today. I know as we're recording this, it's a bit early in Oklahoma.
No,
Uh,
no, it's not too bad.
yeah, so I appreciate you carving out the time and making it happen, Jolynn, and hope to see you again around sometime. So I really
Oh,
appreciate it.
absolutely.
All right. All right, gang. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with us today here on the podcast. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor and do your friends a favor. Forward this episode to 3 of your loan officer friends. And we'll see you next week or next episode, I guess, of Loan Officer Freedom. All right, real good. Hey, thanks, Jolynn. Thanks so much for hanging out with me here today and sharing your story. I love the just get out of the boat. Just get out of the boat. Like just make it happen. And I know it can be scary a little bit, but that's when the growth happens. Oftentimes, I find the thing that holds us back from getting out of the boat is, frankly, just knowing a direction. Like, what do I do here? And I would love to help you with that. We can map out a plan for you of exactly a step by step, paint by numbers of exactly what to do, what to say, who to say it to, and how to actually get more loans from that. And it's my gift to the industry to give you a one-on-one 45-minute call where we'll map it out for you. And you are welcome to take that plan and totally, completely work it all alone by yourself. Certainly welcome to do that. And so there's no catch or hook or gimmick to us doing these calls. So and some people at the end of the call say, "Hey, man, I love this plan. Could you help me walk through the plan ongoing?" And we can certainly talk about that. But the purpose of the call is strictly to give you a working plan to help you get out of the boat. So love that story. So Jolynn, thanks again. I really appreciate it. And for the rest of you, thanks so much. Appreciate what you do and looking forward to talking to you. So to get your plan, just go to freedomclubdemo.com, freedomclubdemo.com, and we'll show you the exact same plan that's working for thousands of loan officers across the nation. So that's it. Get out of the boat. I really love that. So thanks again, everybody. And we'll talk to you when you call in.